Hello, and welcome to this video presentation on strategies for managing student records. Whether you are working in higher education as a faculty or staff member, it is incredibly vital to take appropriate measures when handling education records. Mishandling education records or disclosing confidential information about a student can lead an institution in not being compliant with FERPA and could result in severe consequences as discussed in Module 1's presentation. In this video presentation, you will gain a better understanding of which strategies or measures to take when managing student education records. This presentation will be organized in two sections. The first section will discuss strategies or measures that should never be done when working with student education records. The second section will discuss what strategies or measures should be taken in order to properly manage student education records and comply with FERPA. When handling student education records in your occupation, you should never release directory information on a student without first clarifying with your department if the information that you plan to disclose is confidential or not. This is to ensure that information that is classified as harmful under FERPA is not disclosed. A higher education employee should never request or access information from an education record cabinet or a computer unless they have a legitimate educational interest and are given authorization by personnel from the department and institution to access that information. Notes or other documentation that are written about a student from a committee meeting, for example, should never be placed in a student's file because the student will be able to access that information. These types of records are only confidential if they are in possession of the maker and are not made accessible to other people. Lastly, you as an individual working in higher education should never share confidential student information such as transcripts, school schedules, test scores, or identifiable information such as student IDs and social security numbers to the public. You must also avoid leaving important student documentation unattended while on the job. This includes both physical and electronic student education records on computers. Now that we have discussed what you should not do when managing student education records, let's discuss what strategies or measures you should do when managing student education records. Always check with your department or institutional personnel before disclosing or releasing any information about a student to third parties outside the institution, such as parents. Always follow the confidentiality rules that are in place with FERPA by not sharing, discussing, or distributing information regarding education records with your colleagues unless there is a legitimate educational interest that exists. Educational interests can include processes such as admissions, financial aid, and student services such as tutoring, just to name a few. If you need to use a student's record to perform your duties, make sure to place the record in its appropriate place of storage. Please keep in mind that medical, mental health, and law enforcement records are not considered education records and should not be a part of a student's file. Some records, such as medical and mental health records, should be sent to their institution's disability services and health services department. Law enforcement records should be sent to the department of your institution's campus police. Lastly, always be aware of your surroundings when you are performing your occupational duties. If you see that there is a record containing student information that was left open in public, place the record in a suitable place of storage and notify your supervisor immediately about the incident. Be sure to clear all education records from desks, tables, and your work environment before leaving the workplace. Turn the desktop monitors that are displaying student information off as well. Following these record management strategies and measures in your workplace on a daily basis will allow you to fully comply with FERPA in a higher education setting. When it comes to managing student records and complying with FERPA, remember this important rule. If you are unsure if a certain record or form of information should be disclosed, ask the personnel from your department or don't disclose the record in general. It is better to be safe than to be sorry. In summary, it is incredibly vital to take appropriate measures when handling education records. Mishandling education records or disclosing confidential information about a student can prevent an institution from being in compliance with FERPA and can result in severe consequences. Improper forms of protocol and student record management strategies were introduced to explain what employees should or shouldn't do when working with student education records. Higher education personnel who follow these management strategies and measures on a daily basis will be able to successfully protect the rights and privacy of students and remain in compliance with FERPA. We hope that you enjoyed this brief video presentation on strategies for managing student education records. Thanks for watching.